A cold rage clawed its way from the depths of his soul. He could not believe that he'd done something so wrong to warrant death. He spent centuries living by God's word and always doing the right thing. He made one choice and lost everything. He saved the life of a child. She had her entire life ahead of her and didn't deserve to die at the hands of her drunken father. Guardian angels protect their wards. They don't watch them die because their name had already been written in the book. If humans had erasers, he knew God did also. It had not been her time, not like that. He had no choice but to send waves of serenity to the father. When the man calmed down and saw the brutal attack on his daughter, he sought God. Brian checked on them often over the past 5 years, and both father and daughter were doing fine. He couldn't feel guilty because he felt pride. For the first time in his adult life, he felt as though he accomplished something on his own. He broke away from the mold of his brothers and became one with himself. It didn't make sense the day God cast him from heaven without a word, nor did it make sense today when he walked away with the archangels to be punished for a crime of guarding his ward. He followed them until they were at an ancient church he passed daily on his way to the gym. It was beautiful in its simplicity, and he'd always wished to see people in it. The archangel Michael spoke first.
Brian, angel of God, guardian of humans, you bear the stigma of the betrayer for going against God's word.
"I do," said Brian.
If I offered you the choice, right now with God's blessing, to turn back the hands of time and do things according to his plan, would you take that offer?
Asked Michael. Brian looked at the one closest to God with a clear conscience, said, "No." A whooping cheer rose from Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel. Brian turned to stare at them in confusion. He couldn't understand why they would be acting joyous at a time like then.
He thought we were going to kill him.
Gabriel said with mirth, "I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't think he'd have gone down without a fight."
I knew sending her to that gym would bring him here eventually. Free will on Earth is not always in the best interest of its inhibitors.
Uriel stated. Brian could only stare. "I don't understand."
In your heart, the place that knows him, did you truly believe that you'd be cut down for doing a job he gave you?
Brian thought about what Michael asked and knew the answer. He had never actually believed God would put him to death for what he'd done. The price he felt for going against God's word, however, had been another infraction entirely. "No, I didn't."
So Uriel, just because I like stirring the pot, why did you try to hit him?
Gabriel asked.
I couldn't very well say, "Hello, Brian, thanks for stopping by. By the way, I'd like you to join our elite force of angels that stand as mankind's protection from themselves and other creatures that heaven and hell spit out."
Uriel shrugged.
Seriously though, why'd you try and hit him?
Gabriel persisted.
I went with the moment.
More like he took one look at Maddie staring up at him with those big blue eyes and wanted to knock him down a peg.
Michael laughed. The banter between the males showed of a strong bond, but Brian still didn't understand how he fit into all of it. "Let me get this straight. Because I went against God, you want me to join the four of you as protection for the humans."
Well, unless you have other plans with the next few centuries, a timeout on Earth can last forever.
Gabriel said. "A timeout. 5 years spent away from the presence of God, and it has been reduced to a timeout, a human punishment for a 3-year-old.
Did you think you were the first angel to use his brain?
Uriel asked. He needed a moment to think. The constant barrage of comments and questions from the archangels didn't sit well with him. He turned away from the group and walked down the aisle to the altar. Though the church could have used a good cleaning, and the dim lights did little to reveal the natural beauty of it, he thought it was the most captivating sight he'd ever had the pleasure to see. The wooden steps bore witness to 1,000 knees that knelt before God. The podium spoke of rousing sermons that brought people closer to the light. A tattered Bible lay on the ground, next to the podium that held within it the promises of the future. The church signified hope, hope for humanity, hope for Brian.
What are you thinking about Brian?
Michael asked. The grace and serenity in Michael's voice would be a balm to any tortured soul. He spoke with depth and clarity that soothed and made the recipient feel as though all could be right in the world.
That's such a chick question, Mikey.
Gabriel stated. Brian turned in time to see a bolt of light jump from Michael's fingertips and bounce off the blue protective shield that surrounded Gabriel. Gabriel appeared bored and made a big deal about yawning, while he held his hand up to ensure the shield remained in place.
Look, I have to go make peace with Madison. You in or out?
We haven't even explained to him what we do or what we're up against. You can't just expect him to agree to join us because we're so incredibly cool.
Gabriel said. Brian liked him already.
I'm in.
He didn't know what the future would bring, but angels protected their wards. While guardian angels had only a few wards over a lifetime, working with the men in the room would allow him to protect the masses. Nothing would give him more pleasure than being productive to ensure the safekeeping of mankind.
See, he didn't need to be talked to death.
Uriel said.
He doesn't say much anyway. Chicks dig the strong, silent type. Better watch out for him, Uriel.
Gabriel teased. Brian tried to find something amusing to say to add to the conversation, but felt out of his league. These men had known each other for thousands of years. The honor of being in the same room with them filled his heart and shook him to his core. What could he possibly offer a group of that magnitude? The only thing he'd done with his life was protect the humans he'd been placed in charge of. He'd even managed to get kicked out of heaven for it.
You bring with you something that you have overlooked.
Michael said. His words jolted Brian from his inner musings. While Brian knew that angels could read the minds of humans, he didn't know they could read each other's thoughts. Brian hated to invade the thoughts of others, so he rarely used it. He did so only in the case of an emergency, like earlier that day when Madison first daydreamed. "Why me?" he asked.
You have something so profound within you, stronger than we've seen in many years. The light in you is so strong that it compels those around you to strive to be touched by it. You thought God turned away from you, but you still did everything in His name. You were chosen because of who you are.
Michael said.
Windbag, listen here.
Gabriel said.
Your faith is stronger than the trillion or so angels we got floating around. God likes you, and because you won't turn your back on those you protect.
He had to admit he liked Gabriel's answer better. "Where do we go from here?" Brian asked.
See, man, a few words. From here we go home. We have a crash pad a few miles from here that you will set up residence at. Then comes the fun part of training you to fight the rejects.
Gabriel said. "What are the rejects?" Brian wasn't sure he wanted to know.
Oh, you know, things like rogue demons, fallen angels, even the occasional halfling.
Uriel managed to look bored. How does Madison fit into all of this?
Maddie is Yuri's kid. She is part angel and is also a dream hunter. It's through her that we find so many of the entities we're hunting, though we may have to tell her now that the binding has been lifted.
Said Gabriel. What else did the binding do besides prevent her from seeing that Uriel was an angel?
It prevented the portal from flowing both ways.
Uriel explained. No, it didn't. Brian responded. That got the attention of all four men.
What do you mean?
Uriel asked with a more urgent tone than a moment before. At the gym, someone trashed her car and left a message to stay out of their dreams. They closed ranks in a circle and left Brian out of it. It didn't bother him. He acknowledged that they had no reason to include him in their discussion. He'd been pushed out of so much in the past few years that the only reason he noticed at all was because it involved Madison.
Oh, we're huddling. Do you know what that means?
Gabriel called out as if Brian were dim-witted. Brian joined and listened as they went back and forth discussing the levels of creatures that can transcend from hell to earth. They kept coming back to the sticking point of dreams. Apparently, only those with demon blood could use dreams as portals.
Well, it appears we were mistaken when we said Brian here was the only thing we'd be hunting.